there's a thing where if you see another Eagles fan out, like they're wearing Eagles hat or Eagles jersey or something like that, you say "Go Birds" to them. It's a common thing. So we were in
we know Eitan. I mean,
the Go Birds.
this team has been, I don't know what you call it, but I think there's a disease going around where a team slowly spread. Yeah, an infestation.
Wing, 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 wing. Wing, 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 wing.
Hello? This is Emily?
This is Steven.
And we're,
we are
winging it?
We
are winging it.
And we're
winging it.
Love to know a little bit about like where this Philly fandom came from.
Sure. So I have 3 brothers. I have a twin brother, and then I have 2 younger brothers. My parents got divorced when we were 8, so my twin brother and my second youngest brother and I lived with my mom, and we all lived in Philadelphia. I don't know if you guys have been to Philadelphia, but like it's sports all the time. It's like you take Boston sports fandom and like triple it. And everyone knows a lot about things, and they will tell you when you are right or wrong very vocally. There are many stories about things that Philadelphia sports fans have done, most of them not good. Most of them true, but most of them not good. So it gets kind of drilled into you early. I remember going to my first Eagles game when I was 8 or 9 maybe, and walking through this is like a core memory of walking through the parking lot and getting like a soft pretzel that was being grilled on a charcoal stove and a t-shirt that said "Dallas sucks." And I was like, yes, I made it.
Gotta train them young, you know?
Oh yeah. That's why you see like the videos of like 5-year-olds giving other fans the finger at the stadium.
Gotta represent, chase a chick, never chase
My favorite Philadelphia type sports memory is I was at a game, and there was a baby race. So they put down like a mat, and they had like 4 babies, and it was like a race which baby would like crawl to the end of the mat. And then the parents were like at the other end saying, like, come here. And so the babies start going, and everybody's clapping, and the first baby finishes, and everybody applauds. The other babies were still either going or get lost, and then people started to like boo the babies that didn't finish. And that was a typical Philadelphia sports moment for me.
What's the craziest thing that you've done as a fan?
Ooh, I'm pretty low key in terms of that stuff. I mean, I definitely drank a lot at not the last Super Bowl, but the one before that against the Chiefs, the one which we lost. I think the craziest thing is that my brothers and I go to a lot of away games. So we'll go to away games dressed in Eagles gear and be pretty vocal about our support. So that like, we were in New Orleans, we were in Dallas, we were in some other hostile environments, and fully in our gear and willing to interact with the other team's fans.
Rage baiting them?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Have you taken your kids to a Philly game?
Yeah. But one day, we were in Vermont for like 4th of July a few years ago, and we're walking down the street, and I was wearing my Eagles hat, and someone said "Go Birds" to me, and one of the twins turns to me and like, do they know us? I'm like, no, why? He's like, well, they said Goldbergs.
That's so cute.
Yeah, which was funny, and I was like, oh yeah, I get it. And then I had to explain the Go Birds to them, but yeah, they thought they knew us.
So, are you happy that you have all boys, or like, what was your first thought when you realized this is it, no girls?
So it wasn't more of a not really a boy girl thing. It was that we already had a boy, and so we at least thought we had an idea of what we were doing, so we didn't have to like start over. We're like, okay, we know the basics of how boys work, so that we can we have the same clothes, we have kind of the same, we can kind of go on the same routines. Like a girl would have just been kind of like starting over. I was always a little bit jealous of my relatives or friends that had girls, because I would see my boys just running around in circles like nonstop, and I'd see like my friends with like girls, but they were like sitting and playing and talking to each other, and I'm like, oh, that seems nice. And I think girls get harder when they get to the teen years, and I think boys get a little bit easier because they just, if anything, they just don't talk to you, and they're just like, all right. You see them like I see Nathan like once a day, and he's like, I'm like, okay, hi, you know. And then we'll sit, like last night we sat and watched the England-Mexico game, and that was a lot of fun. But I think knowing what to expect was the best part about having more boys.
Yeah, you have a couple kids that are, I guess, like a decent age gap apart. But is there a big difference between raising your first kid versus your twins?
For us, it's been really different. I think with the first, you're like, first of all, you have like 2 against 1, right? It's like you have 2 versus 1. You can both pay attention, you can both take breaks, and you're like really obsessed with doing everything the right way. At least we were doing everything the right way. Bedtimes, feedings, reading books, everything. Like, so like we spent a lot of time and doing good parenting for Nathan. And I feel like once the twins came, we're like, oh shit, we're outnumbered. He's already in school. We already have so much going on that we're like, we'll do the best we can, and things will work out. Plus, they were born really early, so like there were a whole bunch of other medical things that came from that just made things more challenging. Like, and you get through it. It's just, reading a book every night kind of sometimes comes secondary when you're like just exhausted from being in a hospital or checking, test results and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know if you're comfortable sharing, but I didn't know about this. Like, what happened with the twins?
So they were preemies, and they were born at 25 weeks. So they were 15 weeks early. So we were definitely not expecting kids. One day Michelle was like, I'm really having a lot of back pain. And she went to see her doctor, and her doctor like sends her to the hospital. And then that was the hospital up here by us. And then they're like, nope, you need to go to Boston. And so we went to Boston, and they're like, okay, we're going to try to delay this as long as possible. They put you on bed rest and things like that. And then the kids were born the next day. They were just like ready to go. And there was a whole weird thing called twin-to-twin transference, which you have sometimes with identical twins, which we learned about at the time, where one is taking the nutrients from the other because they share an umbilical cord. And so that was happening. So they were like, nope, we gotta have these kids now. And 25 weeks is really just at the very start end of what's kind of viable. So they were born, they were each 1 pound. 1 pound and a little bit. So they were like tiny little people. And so it was very kind of touch and go with how things would go. But the hospital was very confident. They're like, we handle this all the time. This was at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Brighton. And so they wound up being at the NICU, which is the natal intensive care, for 2 months there. And then 2 months at a kind of a step down once they got to their targeted weight and things like that for when they were supposed to be born. They were supposed to be born in June, and they were born in March. So total, they were in the hospital for about 4 months, and then they came home and they were on some oxygen and things like that. And basically, when you're born that early, everything is just delayed. So like things you would normally expect to happen in 3 months happen at 6 months or 9 months. Eventually now they've all, caught up, but they had, delays and everything. So they had assistance through school and things like that, and a lot of doctor's appointments because everything growing slowly and you have to check on things. And so now they're like 98th percentile in terms of like educational stuff. They're still like tiny, though Ben's a lot bigger than Ryan, and he tells him so all the time in terms of height. But yeah, it was just kind of a added challenge that afterwards we're like, well, we got through that. Like, and so some of the other stuff that like you really think is important with your first kid, you're like, is it really that important? Like, let's just make sure they survive. And then twins have their own challenges with personalities and attention and things like that. Of, you know, all kids need attention, but when you have someone else there competing for that attention, it's an added challenge.
I'm curious how like religion plays in with like that scary happening. So are you actively like practicing with being Jewish?
Yeah. So I'd say like moderate to medium. So like we belong to a temple. My kids go to Hebrew school. Nathan had his bar mitzvah, but we don't like keep kosher and follow all those rules. We don't follow like every rules and go to services every week and stuff like that. So I don't think it really played much part other than kind of like, you know, internal comfort and stuff like that. But I didn't like seek out my rabbi or anything like that to discuss things with. Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. I don't know that I really believe it all, but sometimes I'm like, why not? What's it gonna hurt, right? If you're right, then great. If you're wrong, then you don't lose anything, you know.
Fun fact: I've been to Seder once. I've never been to church a day in my life, and I'm not religious. But one of my friends in college invited me to free dinner, is what they said, and I was like, oh, a free dinner. That sounds kind of nice. And then I got hoodwinked into a whole Passover dinner, which it was delicious, by the way. But it was very funny. It's like, oh, you didn't want to tell me like this is for a holiday before you invited me.
Yeah, and everyone's there, and there's a whole like program and agenda. Yeah, we've invited non-Jewish people to it to Seder. I think it's interesting and it's nice to kind of share.
You know, Calvin's Jewish.
I did not know that.
Grew up. Well, no, he's not. His family is actually very atheist.
Okay.
But his dad is Jewish and also atheist. Like we have a Seder every year for the tradition, and yeah, it's fun.
Do you like it?
Dayenu.
Yeah.
Do you know that song, Steven?
Of course. Oh, does that see
it rings a bell. I feel like when I was there, that something like that could have been saying, but it was a long time ago. This was 10 years ago.
It's a traditional prayer of thanks. I mean, dayenu is Hebrew. It means it would have been enough. And basically, it's a list of things that like, okay, you took us out of Egypt. That would have been enough. But then God did X, Y, Z. And so they're celebrating all those things. And it's a very traditional Passover song. It's kind of like a happy song.
Cool. I don't know if you have any more questions on me, but I would love to move on to Eitan's frisbee life. That's cool.
Yeah, frisbee.
Yeah. So you grew up in Philly.
Yeah.
Then you went to school, if I recall, at BU. Is that right?
Yep. I started playing frisbee. I went to high school in northern Jersey, and my senior year we started like a frisbee intramural. So and it was just like basically playing each other a couple times in the fall. So that was like my first experience with frisbee. 3 days before graduation, we were playing and I laid out, and this field had rocks in it, and I sliced my knee. I got 12 stitches in my knee, which really pissed off the person I was walking with at graduation, because I was in like an immobilizer, so my knee couldn't move. So at our graduation, like one boy walks with one girl, and you walk down, and then you get your diplomas. And so I was like going really slow because I couldn't bend my knee, and she was like so pissed. But that was my first introduction to frisbee. And then I had BU orientation. I met a guy who was like, yeah, I like to play frisbee. And then they had the club fair, and I was like, oh, sure, I'll sign up for it. So, but I started my freshman year. My dad, I learned to drive. I could drive the club vans, the 15 passenger vans that we would take to tournaments. I was able to drive those because my dad had a business growing up, as I was growing up as a he'd sell bread. So he'd buy bread from restaurants and sell it to bakeries. So we had these big trucks, and he'd always like make us wash them and park them and things like that in our driveway. So I could drive these big trucks. I was like, yeah, sure, I can drive a van. So even though I wasn't very good yet, I got to go to all the tournaments because I would drive the van.
What was the like training regimen like?
Yeah, so BU at the time, so there was no men's and women's teams. It was all co-ed. There was just one team. So we played co-ed until my senior year when the women started their own team, just really for sectionals and regionals. But it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, practice like 3 to 5, and then weekends, either tournaments. We pretty much had a tournament like every weekend. And the team was changing over. I mean, I remember the first game I went to was at BC, and half the team was like getting ready and warming up, and half the team was smoking pot. And so it was definitely like, and there were some guys that were really competitive, and some that were literally just there to party. And so it was like kind of like an interesting dynamic of switching over to that kind of more competitive, but still really fun. So it was actually a really fun time to be there because we were getting better. I think my senior year we made the quarters of regionals, which may be the best the BU has ever done, I think.
Which were you? The one smoking pot or the one warming up?
I was warming up because I'd never smoked pot before, so that did get remedied, but it wasn't a big thing for me. You know, I think maybe 5 or 6 times while I was in college. It was not my drug of choice, as they say.
You think Nathan's gonna listen to this and hear that his dad smoked pot?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I told Michelle that there was a podcast. She's like, "There's a podcast?" She's like, "Is that new this year?" I'm like, "No, it's new. It's pretty funny." She was intrigued.
I hope Michelle's watching. Hi, Michelle.
Ooh, I would love a quick aside before going back to Frisbee about how you met Michelle.
So basically, she went to Boston Latin School. So that's a test school in Boston, probably the highest level one. And about 40 kids from the school got scholarships to BU, like full scholarships, and she was one of them. So she knew a lot of people there. And so we lived in Warren Towers, which was is the big dorms on Com Ave. The guys who lived in the room next to me were from Boston Latin, so she knew them. So they were basically hanging out with bunches of people that they knew, and I became friends with them, so I would tag along, and so I met her through them.
Was she your first girlfriend?
Yes. And I later found out that people on our floor, our friends, were taking bets that our relationship wouldn't last like more than a month. So
why do you think that?
First relationship for both of us, maybe.
You're just together because they took bets.
Well, I didn't know. I found out later on. So yeah, that was October 1998.
I'm curious about going back to a little bit with the Frisbee culture. Were people expecting like a party during normal tournaments? If people were like smoking pot and things like that?
Yeah, so pretty much every tournament had a party. Pretty much had a party every week if there weren't tournaments. But yeah, tournament parties were the norm. And most of these schools did not have strict alcohol policies, or they looked the other way. So there was pretty much a party every weekend. I remember really good parties at UMass, at Williams, at Middlebury. But everyone was in the same boat because everybody would go. It wasn't like there was a team that was like, no, I'm not going to party. Like even the really good teams would go and party, and everyone just play hungover on Sunday.
Yeah, that's so wild. What's like the craziest thing you can remember about some of the parties?
So Skidmore, I think I might have told this to Ashley, and she was like shocked, but like, so Skidmore was known as like a naked team. So they would not only have naked parties, but they would have naked points during games at tournaments where they would just disrobe and play the whole point naked. They called this Skidmore streak, where they would run around the field. The nudity was like the land shark was a very common phenomena. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the land shark phenomenon.
Can you describe it for our viewers?
Okay, viewers. So basically, there is a nude person and they strategically place a frisbee to look like a shark, and then they are carried around by 4 people around the party with cans of land shark. So yeah, it was definitely a different culture and vibe than today. Probably better that it's changed. Oh, I think it's gone a little bit too far. I think it would be nice if there still were at least parties at the club level, but like more responsible, just hanging out. It would be, I feel like the teams don't hang out as much. And I think that would be kind of a nicer thing, because I think it would lead to more congenial play and less arguing on the field if teams, would hang out and have a few beers on Saturday.
What were you good at as a frisbee player? Like, what were your strengths on the field?
Breaking the mark is probably my biggest strength, and my backhand huck. So like my backhand huck, I could probably do the whole field plus pretty much on a line. So I was very good at that. And then just breaking the mark thing. And I was a pretty good defender too. I mean, I would usually guard, at least at BU, I would guard the other team's best player for the most part.
Humble brag.
Yeah, I wouldn't do great. Like, I was going against a bunch of guys that won like the Callahan, and I would do okay, but not great. But
I mean, Eitan, you're also a founder of Slow, which I feel like is also a bit of a brag.
So Slow came out of BU team we had for Summer League. It was a bunch of us that really enjoyed playing together, and we played together for 4, 5, 6 years at that point. And the first year, I think we came in like 3rd maybe at regionals. And then our second year, we made nationals. We won regionals, which was pretty shocking for a bunch of 25-year-olds. So it was pretty cool. And then it kind of grew from there. I'm really shocked that it's still in existence.
So did you have any part in the name of?
Yes. So actually we came up with the name, and I was living at my mother-in-law's for the summer in Boston, and we were in my kitchen. Thanks, Kathy. Basically the name was, our friend Sean is like 6'3", 6'2". He was a handler, and he was like the really good handler, but he was not very fast. He was very tall, very white. Even though he was actually African, but his family came from Africa, but he was the whitest guy that we knew. And the rest of us were 5'8", 5'9", maybe someone was 5'10". So we're like, wow, you're slow and white, and we're dwarfs, and that's how the name came about.
Mm.
Yeah, that's funny. I think that's why they changed the name a few years ago, because of the white part of it, and that now it all makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely probably lost its politically correctness for sure, and I think that's appropriate to have changed that. But it definitely came out of a place of that's who we were, not anything negative.
Yeah, let's end with a shout out for your new restaurant.
My twin brother's been a chef and general manager of a restaurant for a long time, and he's always wanted to do his own thing. So he found a space here in Massachusetts, and he moved here from Phoenix. And so we're opening this restaurant called Low and Slow Southern Kitchen. It's going to be in Amesbury, which is a pretty cool town, kind of on the New Hampshire border near the water, near like Newburyport. And it's going to be a Southern restaurant, so like typical Southern food plus barbecue, but like, you might have like shrimp and grits, you might have cornbread, you can have brisket, things like that. We're gonna have a large beer menu, and then on our second floor we're gonna have a bourbon room speakeasy, which would be pretty cool, with like cool bourbon drinks and other types of drinks and things like that. So kind of a different vibe to it. So
I guess you need to have slow in everything that you name.
It wasn't my name. I didn't come up with the name. But yeah, that is a good point.
Go check it out, 5 viewers.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Goodbye.
Like and subscribe. That's the way.
Everyone.